Stephen Cloobeck, take our hand, lead us to the promised land. California, California, get a clue. Stephen Cloobeck is the guy for you. Stand a chair, this is your cue. Stephen Cloobeck will pull us through.
Hi, welcome to another show of Hard Truths with myself, Stephen J. Cloobeck. Today, I'm honored to have one of my dearest friends of 35 years, Robert Shapiro, with us today. So, Bob, thanks for coming today.
Hey, Clooby, great to be with you, and I love this. It's fantastic. Yeah,
Amazing, huh?
yeah, really cool. Really
So you, Bob, you read the book originally, and kind of a ghost surrogate helper writer to make sure the tone was proper when we originally did this. Why'd you do that?
You needed some help.
I always need a lot of help.
No, that's true. And the book was really good. I thought that there were parts of it that didn't really come across as the way I know you.
And, it's important because I've always reached out for help. And matter of fact, even in this campaign, Bob, you've known me for a long time, 35 years, and you've been my oldest and dearest friend. And I can say I'm grateful to you because you sat down with me for 4 hours on a Sunday. And why'd you do that?
Well, I love you dearly. And, you're very intimidating. And there's things that people will not tell you that maybe they would say to somebody else, but not to you. And I had seen you interact a couple times with people in different situations and explaining very complicated issues that you would be confronting as governor of California. And I said, Stephen, people, number one, are not as smart as you are, and they don't need to know the real nuts and bolts of what you're trying to say. And
we sat there for 4 hours.
4 hours, yeah.
You're beating me up a little bit.
Well,
in a nice way with love.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that.
What I tried to do, Stephen, is what I've learned in my career, and that is how do you communicate with people in an easily understandable way without being condescending, without being egotistical, just to get across a thought. And so what I tried to do when I was talking to you is the way I talk to jury. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be straightforward, and I want you to understand it. I'm not going to talk above you. I'm not going to talk below you. I'm going to talk to you.
So important. I'm so grateful. But, a lot of people, they've seen you on TV. So many times you've been involved with the most famous legal cases in the world. And I've been your dear friend. And I never asked you about your cases. And you kind of said that to me one night. How come you never asked me about a case? It was not my business. You're going to tell me what I want to hear. But we've traveled the world together. We've had beautiful experiences. We're actually looking for the best duck in the world. That's our favorite duck. But I don't think people really know, because I do. How you grew up. And really never planned on being a lawyer.
Well,
tell us about that.
So it's interesting. I came from a typical middle-class family. I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey, and at 11 months, my parents came out here to be with their parents, and my grandfather bought a 4-unit apartment house on Pico and La Cienega, and the whole family grew up there together, went all through public schools. My father had a lunch truck, even though he was a very accomplished piano player. That was really a sideline. And, got up at 5 a.m. and sold coffee and donuts around downtown LA to the business people. My mother worked as a clothing salesperson in a clothing store. And so I had a typical middle-class upbringing. We knew everybody within 10 blocks of where we lived. I went all through public schools. And my mother was very, very smart, even though she didn't have a college education. And she told me two things. The number one, when you go to college, take Spanish.
Smart.
And you should be a dentist because people will always need dentists. So, okay, here I am, 18 years old at UCLA as a freshman, and I enroll as a pre-dental major, and my language is Spanish.
No one knows this.
Okay. I turn out to be the only non-speaking Spanish person in Spanish 1. And my first grade at UCLA is an F in Spanish.
Classic.
Okay, now I'm in chemistry and physics, two things that I'm not really very good at. And they tell all the pre-dental majors we're going into the conference room to do some dexterity. Okay, fine. They give me a box of chalk with an X-Acto knife. They say, carve a tooth. I have no preparation. I'm, kind of immature, really. And I said, are you shitting me? I couldn't even put together a model airplane. And after I broke every piece of chalk in that box, I decided it was time to take a leave of absence from UCLA and try to refocus on something else. So I came back in 1961 and became a finance major and did pretty well in finance. I understood economics. And so now it's 1965. The Vietnam War is raging, and I'm 1A, fit and ready to go. At the same time, Bruce Jenner is 4F, unfit to serve. I'm 5'1", and I weigh 110 pounds and can barely carry a gun. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be going to Vietnam. I didn't favor the war anyway. So there was a couple ways to get out of the draft in 1965. One, you can go to Canada. I hadn't been out of California, so there's no chance I'm going to California. Two, you could burn your draft card. That didn't sound like a real smart idea at the time. Three, you could become a conscientious objector. That I would have to lie about. Or four, go to graduate school. So myself and three other fraternity brothers said, you know what, let's all go to law school.
Just like that.
Just like that, okay? So for $50, we could send out massive applications, and two of my fraternity brothers and myself got accepted to the University of San Diego. Very nice campus, third-rate law school. Went down there, and I had no desire to be a lawyer anyway. And the first day that law school starts, I get a call from Loyola, which is a second-rate, now first-rate law school. And they said, one seat opened in the night school. I said, guys, this is great. I've got student debt. I'm going to be able to work during the day.
What did you work as?
Go to school at night. I worked as a clothing salesman. I'd always worked. I'd worked since I was 13 years old. I never did not work on something, whether it was selling pots and pans, door-to-door sales, working at the post office. I was a teller at the Bank of America. When you had to put interest calculated in your head in these little books that people would come every three months for. And so I said, I'm going to night school at Loyola. They were not happy, but, things happen. First day of night school, one seat opened in the day school. I said, okay, I'll try the day school. And turned out I did pretty well in law school. I won the moot court competition. I became the Chief Justice of the moot court. And one of the federal judges there said, you should be a trial lawyer.
Just like that.
Just like that. I said, okay. So I applied and got a job in the DA's office.
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles, and prosecuted cases for a little less than 2 years.
And then you go from a prosecutor, did you ever imagine becoming one of the best, if not the best, defense lawyer in the world?
Well, I wouldn't say that.
You are.
Now,
your credentials speak volumes, but out of the top 3 cases, what were the most interesting cases you have dealt with?
So the first one was from a place you were at, Las Vegas, before you decided to come to California and pay real taxes.
Well, I started in California.
I know you did.
Came back,
And you came back.
with my wallet leading.
And I get a call. I pick up the phone and, hi, this is Liza Minnelli. I said, hi, Liza Minnelli, why are you calling me? Well, your friend David Winters and his client Linda Lovelace just got arrested in Las Vegas.
The porn star.
The porn star. And they need your help. So I'm a very young lawyer. And I said, okay. So I chartered a small prop engine plane, flew to Las Vegas, and David Winters I knew because our kids were going to the same. And he was a choreographer for Liza Minnelli. And he was going to now choreograph a show for Linda Lovelace, the porn star who had a movie called Deep Throat, which was the first porn movie shown legitimately, literally around the world, big deal. And the people in Las Vegas at the time were not happy with a porn star coming for a review done by Sammy Davis Jr., featuring Linda Lovelace, the porn star. God knows what she was going to do.
Right.
And so there was a sheriff there named Ralph Lamb, very famous
Cowboy.
controversial, tough, I rule Las Vegas sheriff. And they were set to go to the Dunes Hotel. Last minute, they switched him to the Riviera Hotel, which had some connections that were probably not totally above board. Oscar Goodman would not say that word, but
Okay. We tell hard truths here.
exactly. And so I meet them and I said, I have to find a lawyer to help me in Las Vegas because there's two people. And there were two. One was a young lawyer named Oscar Goodman, who became the mayor of Las Vegas and one of the best lawyers in the country.
Prolific.
And the other was a senior lawyer named Harry Claiborne Jr. And I said, well, Oscar is a little bit more experienced than I was, but not a lot more. Claiborne was the gold standard. So Claiborne and I represented Linda Lovelace and David Winters for possession for sale of cocaine. The Metro squad came in at midnight, busted their doors down, came in literally with guns, put them on the floor, and found a large amount of cocaine, supposedly. When we had the cocaine analyzed, for some reason, it seemed to have disappeared from the locker room.
Interesting.
And we were able to win the case. And it was the first nationally publicized case in America.
Wow.
So that gave me some public exposure.
And number two?
Number two would be representing Christian Brando, accused of murdering his daughter's boyfriend, Tejuto. And so Marlon Brando hired me to represent him. I literally lived with Marlon Brando for 6 to 8 months, represented his son. The evidence was he had shot Tejuto at point blank range while he was sleeping. As a result of his sister saying Tejuto was beating me up. And it was a tragic case, obviously, but we were able to get Christian a plea to manslaughter, and he served 5. So that was the second. And the third was one that I think most people will remember, and that was O.J. Simpson. And those would be the top 3.
Do you remember we ran into somebody 6 weeks ago? And I introduced you to them, and they said, oh. And I said, no, don't you remember the O.J. Simpson case? And the young man goes, what's that? Who says, I mean, how do you not know O.J. Simpson? And the case, the trial of the century, was on TV every single day. But what it told us was we're getting older, or
it's interesting. A while back, a couple of guys that started LegalZoom with me in 2000 said, you know, why don't you start doing some videos for Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah.
So I sat down. I said, all right, I'll try it. And one of the things I started talking about is the Simpson case. And much to my surprise, it has taken off and a lot of people are watching it. It's
I've seen your TikToks and Instagram, and they're fantastic.
It's Robert Shapiro Official. Just a little commercial here.
You can always have commercial with that.
Not that I get any money for it, but
No, it's interesting because what people don't know is you and I have spent so much time together over 35 years, and the stories, they don't stop. I mean, I've had 35 years of stories, and I'm still learning new things. And it's just amazing. Your life has been so fascinating. It's been filled with drama, tragedy, but you've always kept it together. I mean, you and I have had some pretty spiritual talks about some pretty serious things that have gone in our lives. It looks fancy on the outside, but we're just kind of two normal guys. You know my dad really well. I met you through my father.
I love your father. Your father was an amazing, amazing man.
My best friend. When we start talking about him,
She'll start crying, right?
I'll start crying. We'll both end up start crying about stuff. This show is going to be known as the Cry Show. But I mean, it's life, and it's vulnerable, and it's who we are, and we're not afraid of that. Not afraid of that. I admit to everything I've done in my life, good, bad, ugly. And you've been there through a lot of it. And I have been there with you.
Yes.
And we've helped each other. I mean, if there's anyone I know to call at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., it's you.
And I've learned something very unusual that a lot of younger people don't know how to do. And that's, I can answer a cell phone. I go crazy when it goes to voicemail, and then voicemail says, we're not taking voicemail. We're all full.
Right. Isn't that? But so that goes to,
It drives me crazy.
so that goes to character and integrity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how do we bring that back to instill in to future generations that character and integrity is really the root of who we are?
I don't know. It's very challenging. Look, we grew up. I'll give you a perfect example. I told you I came out here when I was 11 months old in a beat up Model T Ford with no air conditioning, with my mother holding me in her hand. My grandson, who was adorable, 4 years of age,
Handsome.
God forbid the seat that he sits in is not level perfectly. The car doesn't go. Okay?
Your son's a helicopter parent.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love your son to death. I'm one of the trustees of his trust. And he and I get into it sometimes because I'm like, would you pay attention? The way I raise my children, it's all about integrity. Don't lie. It's about being financially responsible, being a good human, and just working hard and just having responsibility.
Yeah, well, Grant has turned out to be a remarkable young man.
A+. It is hard, and he's such a good dad.
Yeah.
I watch him.
And great value. Great, he is not spoiled. He's very grounded. He's hardworking. And then, as you know, our first son, Brent, unfortunately died when he was 25 from alcohol and drugs. And so I think that had a real effect on Grant to begin with. But hopefully, with people like you who have helped us when we started the Brent Shapiro Foundation for Drug Prevention.
Can we talk about that? Because
Absolutely.
That's good. So I was living in Las Vegas at the time, and my phone rang at 7:30 a.m. And it was the first phone call I got at 7:30 a.m. like that in my life. And I know it vividly because I picked up the phone and it was you on the phone and you're crying. And I was like, I didn't even know what to say. And then you told me what had happened in very specific terms. What happened to Brent, what caused his death. And we talk immediately. We were like, and we're going to set up this foundation. You said that. It was in the same breath when we were talking about, unfortunately, your son's death of that night. And somebody didn't want to help resuscitate. And it was all just such a blur, but so real. And we set up this foundation instantly. And of course, I was there along with some of your other great friends. Fortunately, some of them not with us today. Mr. Gregorian, Mr. King, myself, I think Mr. Perkle. But
A little bit later
on. But anyway, so tell me about that. And that was just, I didn't even know what to say.
Well, it was Sunday morning, and the back line in our home phone rang and rang and rang. And rather than ignore it, I picked it up. And here's the words I heard. Brent's not breathing and he's turning blue. Did you call the paramedics? Yes. Where are you? How close are you to Cedars-Sinai Hospital? We're very close. I woke up Linnell, put on some sweats. Brent is in the hospital. When we got to the hospital, we got there before the paramedic. And I knew the news would not be good because I know you have a 5-minute window if you stop breathing. And we heard what no parent ever wants to hear. We tried to process that as best we could. Linnell, as a mother, was uncontrollable. I was an emotional wreck. And we decided to see, well, maybe a miracle could happen overnight. It didn't. Was a very vivacious young man. He was very smart. He was on the dean's list at USC.
Very handsome.
Handsome, fun, smart, wanted to go to law school. And 2 days later, we had to plan a memorial. 2,000 people came.
I was there.
To the memorial. And we decided to do something that, unfortunately, I hadn't seen at other tragedies where young people had died. And that is deal with this head on. Brent had been in rehabilitation a couple of times. He'd been sober for 18 months. But he had broken his sobriety. He went to a USC football game, had a couple of beers. Because he always said, you know, Dad, I'm a drug addict. I'll never use drugs again. Prove to me that I can't have a glass of wine or some beer. I said, I can't, but everybody tells me that's the case. So he went with his then girlfriend to a back-to-school party at the Elks Club, of all places. And for some reason, he decided with her to have a couple of Jägermeister shots. And then somebody gave him an ecstasy pill that he took. And we don't know whether it was pure, whether there was something in it, but he became immediately ill and started to projectile vomit. And rather than call the paramedic, because we would find out and he'd be back in rehab, they decided to let him sleep it off. So his girlfriend took him to a friend's house where they went to sleep. He never woke up. So immediately after the internment, a friend of mine, friend of yours, Michael King, came to me and said, you know, I want to donate some money in your son's honor to your favorite charity. And I said, Michael, I'm going to talk to you and a couple of friends, but I want to start my own charity for drug awareness, because this is going back to 2005. People were not talking about drugs as being a disease. And for the first 6 or 7 years, we talked about the idea that this was not a choice, but a disease. And people started talking about it, not giving lip service to it, but really believing that, yes, there is something that is a chemical dependency disorder.
But you created this conversation from, this unfortunate tragedy. And it's been 20 years now. I mean, I've watched this since the beginning. And what started as a small charity, Friends Honor, has begun a real program. And I'd like you to talk about it for a minute, because I'm so proud of being involved in this, because I've seen the results and the way you've handled this charity, where all the money goes to results. And now today you've got young adults going to college. They're getting these great scholarships. So I'd like you to talk to us about how this platform developed, and more importantly, it's because my belief when I become governor of California is to take platforms just like this and take these best practices, public-private partnership, and make them all over 58 counties in California, because it's just so prolific and the results are tremendous. So tell us about that.
So thanks for asking that, Stephen. So after it became pretty clear that people were now realizing that, this is an epidemic of enormous proportion, that I talked to the head of addiction medicine at Cedars-Sinai, Dr. Jeff Wilkin. And I said, Jeff, is there any way to keep addicts off drugs? And he said, yes, with rewards. You give an addict a reward, they will not use drugs for a short period of time. I said, what if we tried this with kids?
Genius.
He said, nobody's ever done it. So about 12 years ago, we shut down 4 blocks in East LA, one of the toughest areas in the country.
It's Boyle Heights, right?
Boyle Heights.
Boyle Heights.
Okay. Drug addicts, gangs. And they have a Boys and Girls Club there. The Variety Boys and Girls Club. We sent around vans. We put up a little carnival, Ferris wheels, games, food, and we had 900 people show up. And we pitched the idea that if you allow your kids to come to an after-school program at the Boys and Girls Club that would test them randomly for alcohol and drugs, we'll reward them. This was the beginning. The rewards were not monetary, but they were experiences, going to ball games, going to college campuses, taking kids to the beach that had never seen the beach. We got 25 kids and their families to sign up. That after-school program now has expanded to 20 clubs, one in New York.
Amazing.
We're going to open a couple in Florida, one in Texas, the majority in California. We service 10,000 kids. The ultimate reward now is a college scholarship. If you graduate as a sober high school student, you're eligible for a college scholarship. And right now we have 35 kids in college.
Amazing.
Paid for completely on 4-year college scholarships.
Under Brandeis.
One at Brandeis, one at NYU, a couple at UCLA, a couple at Berkeley, and one at USC. Happened to pick the most expensive school in the country.
Of course. So, but what is fascinating to me is, number one, you watch the dollars Your administrative costs are virtually nothing, and everything goes down to performance. And what's also really incredible, which you've told me, is the level of children that fail. The participation is amazing, but the success is even more amazing. Tell me about that.
You were kind enough to introduce me to Cory Booker last week, and we talked about this. And he was really, first of all, a very fascinating young senator. And he said, I'd never heard of anybody attacking it from the prevention side.
Right.
Everybody is dealing with interaction or interdiction of drugs, stopping the flow. And I was always convinced that you can't get rid of supply unless you get rid of demand.
Right.
So let's focus on how do you get rid of demand? Be smart, don't start. And so the Brent Shapiro Foundation starts with kids from 11 to 12. We have a very extensive program, after-school program, virtually summer school in our 20 clubs with 10,000. And they learn not only about the danger of starting with drugs and the likelihood of having a lifelong problem, they have now embraced the idea that they are doing something positive and that they have a chance of a real life, where the majority of these kids probably wouldn't even graduate high school, yet alone go to college. And the program has been tremendously successful. So each club gets $100,000 a year. That covers the director, an assistant director, and all the testing and the reward, not the scholarship. 92.5% of what we raise goes directly to the program.
Remarkable.
Okay.
It's really cool.
We have one full-time paid employee and one part-time secretary. The rest is all volunteers. If we do an event, we do it ourselves. And the statistics are overwhelming. We rarely, if ever, have had a kid fail. And if they do, it's generally for marijuana.
But this is what I see as the essence of the new future of California, the bully pulpit of the United States, and taking great charities like this that show performance and results. I mean, as a philanthropist, I've been involved. I've watched the great work you and Linnell have done, and it's remarkable. There's other charities like this in California. People don't know this, but maybe some do, that you're a big boxing fan, but you're a great boxer. I've never met anyone with more discipline in my life. I mean, you're going to be 83 years old.
No. Somebody lied on my birth certificate.
Okay, they lied. I'm going to tell you this, that all I know is one day we were going somewhere and I was just being silly and kind of tried to throw a punch at you, and all I knew was a right hook was coming underneath my jaw so fast I would have been laid on the ground. You would have kicked my ass. And I'm not going to forget that. So I'm not messing with you. I want you on my side.
I'm always on your side.
But you're still involved. You go to the gym all the time. And you got this discipline. How do you keep the discipline up?
I think that's something you do over a lifetime. My father, as I told you, got up at 4 a.m, ran his lunch truck, came back at 2 p.m, took a nap, packed up the lunch truck to get ready the next morning.
Yeah.
And did that until he was 65 and retired. But when he retired, he came to work for me and did my bookkeeping, did some of the filings that we needed for court, and actually drove me to court. And so it was just natural that I would continue to be disciplined. He was a great athlete, much better than I ever would be. But I, as a fluke, just decided, I don't like to lift weights. I'm not a great runner. I'm small. And I just accidentally got into boxing to learn how to hit the speed bag.
But you're a huge fan.
Now I love the sport. I love the athletes that are involved in it. And as you say, if you don't do it regularly, it's not going to work.
Yeah, well, you have discipline, you've been well educated, and you definitely have integrity. That's my DEI.
Yeah.
You get the trophy for that. That's the DEI, new DEI. You've seen my life grow in business from when we first met 35 years ago, and I'm in this new chair, uncharted territory, unexpected, to run for governor of California. And at the beginning, everyone was like, what are you doing? But as everyone's seen kind of this journey the last 16, 17 months, I've created a couple of fans, you being one of them, and you've been highly supportive through this journey. Why should I become governor of California?
We were talking about this. And number one, you're extremely smart. Number two, you don't need a job. You're not like a politician who is running to run again for something else. This is the one thing you want to do, and you're committed to it. Also, you've done so well in business that I think you need something to do, and you have what it takes to make a change. Number one, you're very analytical. Number two, you realize that there's a better way for people to have a better life in California.
True.
And you have focused on key issues that affect the majority of the people, whether Democrats, independents, Republicans, doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Your message goes to everyone and everybody.
But as I say, everyone's a customer in California, and that's not political.
And that's how you've run your businesses, and that's the reason for your success. And I think that the diligence you have put into this, the amount of work, amount of study, and your understanding of not only the political climate, but what issues are affecting the average person.
Because I actually polled everybody. I polled everyone and asked them the question. I found, Bob, that our leaders, unfortunately, we put in office, they got to a point where they thought they were smarter than us, the people. And they they believe it's their money, not our money. They forgot that they're just stewards of the money. And it's crazy. And they forgot to talk to the best customers of California. They forgot to talk to all the customers of California. So I'm having a ball doing this. You've seen that. I'm actually having a really good time because there's hope in California to make us the bully pulpit that we were. I'm going to ask you a question. I've asked other folks. If you could have one day with one person who's not alive, who would you like to spend the day with and why?
My father, without a question.
Here's going to go here again.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, it's.
Tell me why.
Nobody's asked me that question.
I want to know why.
And because there are things that I wanted to say that I never.
Like what?
Thank you for buying me a suit when I graduated law school.
Could he afford that?
He could, because he was a very thrifty person.
Okay.
He learned a lesson that I have followed, and that is live within your means.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, save money. Now here's a man who I don't think made more than $10,000 a year driving his lunch truck every day. My mother put aside $1 a week from the time I was born to afford my bar mitzvah when I was 13. So when my father retired at age 65, he had saved enough money to be self-sufficient the rest of his life.
Pretty amazing.
I said, how'd you do that? Compound interest.
Really?
And so, I just would love to have expressed it in those terms. Second thing is also with my mother. My mother was one who would embarrass me. Because
That's your mom too much.
yeah. And she'd embarrass me in ways that, well, I'm the smartest kid in school, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I hate the I word. I don't like to talk about myself, as you know. And I probably could have been much more thankful for the way she raised me. She didn't drive. We took buses everywhere, swimming lessons to LA High on a bus, 2 buses actually to get there. So, but you can't look back, you can't regret things, but it's a very provocative question. And, you can see this on one of the videos I did on my Instagram. And I've got a case I'm trying, the wrongful death case, where the patriarch of a beautiful family of a wife and 5 children died horrifically as a result of a helicopter crashing. And
You told me a little
the
bit.
blade coming off and sitting in a car, minding his own business, and he got decapitated. And I'm thinking, how am I going to talk to a jury and say, there's no economic damages here, but there's an emotional loss to his widow and to his 5 children? What is life? And that's pretty much what you're asking me. What was one more day worth
What? I
to spend with my family?
And
And I'm going to ask the jury, what is one more day like to spend with a loved one who was decapitated because of a faulty product in a helicopter?
I just helped you solve your case.
You always do, Stephen. And anyway, look at
I know. We had to make a little light of this now because that was pretty heavy. It always is when they ask that question. I always tear up. You knew my dad so well, and I miss him so much. And if you saw this, well, if you saw me running for governor of California, you'd be going like, "You're kidding me, right?"
no. If I saw you doing an interview like this, I would not believe how great you are at doing it.
I don't know.
Honestly, no, this is, look, I've been interviewed by probably as many correspondents worldwide as anybody, whether it be Barbara Walters, Larry King, the list can go on forever. Your natural ability to communicate is coming through so fantastically.
Wow.
And
You're gonna make me
that's
proud.
that's what's going to make you,
brother.
no, this is what's going to make you a great governor, because you can communicate. You don't need a script. You don't need talking points. You have it right here.
Well, you taught me an important concept, which is in my vernacular all the time. It's we. We. And we together have to fix California, and we together have to admit that we've had enough of what was. And we together have to just acknowledge what it is today and what we want the future to be. We together. So with that, I just want to thank you, my dearest friend, Bob. This is good. As always, I love you.
I love you more, and California is going to love you as being a great leader for the people.
Thank you.
California.